Tonight at 10 on the Movie Channel. Horror in The Visitor with John Huston and Sam Peckinpah. A strange man comes to Earth with a mission. If he fails, the consequences are serious. The Visitor, your next film tonight at 10 on the Movie Channel.
The Amazing Prince, Sign of the Times, Thursday night at 8 on the Movie Channel.
If the unthinkable ever happened to you, what kind of insurance company would you rather be with?
Because we've been recycling your empties for years, our bottles have always been green.
Terrific.
When I grow up, I'm going to be a racing driver. When I grow up, I want to be an astronaut. When I grow up, I'm going to be
Welcome to Fright Night.
There's a fiendish treat in store for horror fans every Friday night in August on the Movie Channel. You'll be scared witless by zombies, aliens, ghouls, and monsters. Friday nights are not for the faint-hearted, but if you love being scared, it could be the night of your life. And the horror continues every Friday night this month. Don't watch it alone. Horror on the Movie Channel.
Iraq is claiming that 2 military jets from Saudi Arabia have violated their airspace. The Iraqi news agency reported that the planes crossed the southern border into Kuwait, which Iraq now considers to be its territory. It's the first time that Iraq has reported violation of its airspace since the Gulf crisis began. President George Bush has ordered the call-up of 40,000 US reservists for possible service in the Gulf. Mr. Bush says he wants the United Nations to approve any military action to enforce sanctions against Iraq. But he's added that even if the UN doesn't approve, America and its allies feel they have the necessary authority to go it alone. Meanwhile, Iraq has reversed its decision to allow 100 Swedish and Finnish people to escape from Kuwait to Turkey. And Iraq has announced that 600 citizens of EC countries trapped by the crisis will not be allowed to leave the country. But Baghdad says some French and Japanese nationals trapped within the Iraqi borders will be allowed to go as a goodwill gesture. In a new bid to prevent war in the Gulf, King Hussein of Jordan is planning to visit Iraq and other Arab countries. The king said he would leave within 24 hours. British Rail is being urged to tighten up on safety after the third serious train crash in 3 weeks. 2 trains collided this morning at Hyde North Station in Greater Manchester, injuring 29 people. Labour's transport spokesman John Prescott claims the crash emphasises the cost-cutting priorities in British Rail. The former top judge, Lord Denning, and The Spectator magazine are to publish a full retraction and apology for remarks he made about the Guildford Four in an interview with the Weekly. In the interview, the 91-year-old former Master of the Rolls suggested the Four were guilty of being IRA bombers. Last year, the Four were freed by the Court of Appeal after doubt was thrown on their convictions for the 1974 pub bombings. The two Germanys could become one as early as October the 6th. The West German Chancellor Helmut Kohl's government made the announcement after the East Germans passed a law today allowing unified elections in December. That's the news. Now the weather forecast. Cloudy and misty tonight with drizzle in western and northern areas. Tomorrow hot and humid in the southeast, damp in western coastal districts, but fine in the north. And that's it for now. Join us for more news updates as the evening continues.
When it comes to music, the Movie Channel brings you the best. This August, the Movie Channel brings you great sounds from the 60s in films like John Walter's Hairspray. A fascinating insight into Chuck Berry's private life and music is seen in Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, with special appearances from Eric Clapton, Keith Richards and Linda Ronstadt.
Why don't you know that?
Bruce Springsteen, Carly Simon and Jackson Browne are just a few of the incredible lineup of musicians performing for a cause in No Nukes.
Who are we? We're just a bunch of musicians. The fact is that we're a bunch of people that feel a need to see something change.
With the music of the 50s heavily featured in the soundtrack, Blueberry Hill recreates an era as it tells the touching story of a young girl's coming of age in a small northern Californian town. Shot on location in Rotterdam and Paisley Park, capture the sound of Prince at his very best and live in Sign of the Times. Four great films bringing the very best in musical entertainment, only on the Movie Channel.
Confusion!
This August, get your shades out, put your dancing shoes on.
Thank you!
Get ready for a rocking time.
As the races run, our thoughts like breath we try to catch. Each man and woman reflecting on their reason for this match. Cross moor, down Crescent and Weir, on banker, fitter and wife. Every step rekindling their waning taste for life. And when the tape is pressed in, what thought remains behind? Perhaps a better understanding of a race called mankind. The Diet Coke Great Run. 5 runs for the human race.
I had been shipwrecked on this island now for 3 long years. I was becoming weary of the same old food. Then one day I came across a wooden case. Inside I found a curry sauce, a chili sauce, and spicy tomato, all from HP. My food was now much improved. I wish I could say the same for Friday. You still can't get my name right.
Pass the sauce, Harry.
Add variety to life with the spicy sauces from HP.
A look that led to an evening.
We were attracted to each other at the party, that was obvious.
A mistake he'd regret.
So where's your wife?
Daddy! Honey!
And you're here with a strange girl being a naughty boy?
I don't think having dinner with anybody's a crime.
I've got to see you.
This has got to stop.
No, it's not going to stop.
She keeps calling you partner.
Hello?
Every time Beth answers the phone, she hangs up. I'm scared, Jimmy.
You play fair with me, I'll play fair with you.
Do you have an affair with her?
I don't want to lose my family.
I want you out of here! I want you out of this house! If you ever come near my family again, I'll kill you. You understand?
I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
I guess you thought you'd get away with it. Well, you can't.
A casual affair becomes a pathological obsession. Glenn Close and Michael Douglas, Fatal Attraction. Sunday night at 10 on the Movie Channel.
Movie Museum, presenting rare original footage from the first quarter century of motion pictures, selected from the archives of the Killiam Collection in New York. The very first movies were mere bits of passing movement, but in the early 1900s, film subjects evolved into real-life scenes, such as this 1903 vignette of boys at the old swimming hole. The footage, a single take, was shot near Edison's studio in West Orange, New Jersey, and unlike earlier Edisons, it carries a slight plot and even some sociological overtones, as a grouchy owner is outwitted by the frolicking kids. Later the same year, Edison's top director, Edwin S. Porter, produced his first one-reel story films, including The Great Train Robbery. Actors were low men on the payroll in 1903, and the policeman was probably the only one in the picture who got paid. And now, a delightful 1910 morality film. Winning Back His Love was one of the first film versions of a marital plot device long used, with many variations, on the stage. Departing friend Tom is played by James Kirkwood. Husband George is Wilfred Lucas, first biograph player to make $150 a week. In 1910, it was not abnormal for a couple merely entertaining a friend with a quiet dinner at home to be in full dress. Mary is played by Stephanie Longfellow, an actual niece of the poet. In 1910, audiences were familiar with the interior set in Biograph's 14th Street studio with the grandfather clock and the AB logo on the flat. The stage door was a real location, familiar to stage door Johnnies, if not to Biograph audiences. We think it is the Hippodrome on 6th Avenue at 44th Street. George's late date, Vera, is played by Vivian Prescott, one of Biograph's most popular actresses. At her apartment, Vera has a maid, played by Jean McPherson, who later became one of Hollywood's highest-paid writers. One of her scripts was DeMille's The Ten Commandments. George hesitates, not because he's hesitant, but because of censorship. From 1908 to 1914, the movies often tried to preach. when George does leave, Vera hasn't even removed her hat. The year this picture was made, the Chicago censors banned the song, I Love My Wife, But Oh, You Kid. Stephanie Longfellow made it on her own, not just because of her name, as in 1910 cast names weren't advertised, but she chose to retire early from the screen in 1915. George's explanation is accepted. George and Mary's butler brings in a message, the original footage of which doesn't survive, and we've composed one we hope is at least in the spirit of the original. There was a fad at this time of lovers' baby talk, and shortly after this film, the country was singing Irving Berlin's hit song, Snooky Ookums. The spouse with the roving eye has been a staple character since the beginning of drama, but movie morality was strict when D.W. Griffith directed this picture, and it could be only the husband who strayed, while the wife wept and waited. Miss Longfellow's acting may seem a bit broad here, but divorce was then considered a disgrace, so the histrionics are not entirely out of order. Friend Tom volunteers to help. And Mary has to ask herself whether Tom is as interested in her as he is in helping her with George. George is a little nervous about being seen, even by the stage doorman. Now Mary will go along with Tom's scheme. Tom and Mary already have a reading on where George conducts his late-night business engagements. A table for two for George and Vera. And for Tom and Mary, also a table for two. Split scenes with an imaginary partition or curtain had been common on stage, and worked well for the camera, too. While the movies were still a brand new medium, the writers, actors, and directors were all stage-trained people. Inevitably, films like this were virtually photographed plays. A new wave of writers who grew up with the movies would soon emerge and write specially for the mobility of the new medium. Among them, Anita Loos, who joined Biograph at about this time. The dramatic device of curing the errant husband goes way back, probably to Aristophanes or the Elizabethans or the Restoration, were we to research it all the way. Certainly the spouse with the roving eye was standard in the late 19th century French farces of Feydeau. Or, for the specific ploy of mates overhearing one another in adjacent cafe booths, how about Hello Dolly, which came from Thornton Wilder's Matchmaker, which came from Wilder's own 1938 play The Merchant of Yonkers, directed by Max Reinhardt, which Wilder himself took from the 1842 Viennese play Einen Juxville as Sick Machen, which had been based on the 1835 London play A Day Well Spent by John Oxenford, and so on, back through the dramas and novels of centuries. D.W. Griffith, for all the new techniques and directorial freedoms he developed, both at this time and later, made dozens of these rather confined morality movies, the drunk learning his lesson, the thief making amends, or, as here, the husband finding out the errors of his ways. Significantly, it was in the summer of this same year, 1910, that Griffith accepted motion pictures as a career by abandoning his pseudonym Lawrence and signing a third biograph contract with his real name, David Wark. In 1910, films, a husband might indicate an interest in another woman and be forgiven. But if a wife strayed, she would be punished by death or worse.
There's been a murder, and she's the innocent witness.
I never saw anybody killed before.
You didn't tell me she was so beautiful.
Tom Berenger stars with Mimi Rogers.
You get off this case or you don't come home.
She's my responsibility.
Someone to Watch Over Me, Saturday at 10 on the Movie Channel.
Today is a special day for Prince Akeem of Zamunda.
Happy birthday, Your Highness. Yes, it is my birthday.
Now the time has come for him to settle down.
We've gone to a great deal of trouble to select for you a very fine wife. Since the day she was born, she was taught to walk and speak and think as a queen.
Why can't I find my own wife? That is the way it has always been with men of power. It is tradition. Tell no one of this. I intend to find my bride.
Where will you find such a woman?
In America.
Oh! We're in New York now. Let us dress as New Yorkers.
I feel like a complete idiot.
Oh, do not be ridiculous.
Apparently, these are the best women Queens has to offer. Pick one and let's go home.
I am very happy to be here.
Hello.
I have recently been placed in charge of garbage.
I'm into the group thing.
And I want to tear you apart. And your friend, too.
I think my sister likes you.
Eddie Murphy in the TV premiere of Coming to America, soon on the Movie Channel.
Tonight at 10 on the Movie Channel. Horror in The Visitor with John Huston and Sam Peckinpah. A strange man comes to Earth with a mission. If he fails, the consequences are serious. The Visitor, your next film tonight at 10 on the Movie Channel.
There's a new day dawning. You feel it in the air. The world is growing closer. You see it everywhere. On the new horizons, we could take you there. There's a new world arriving. It's happening today. There's a new world arriving on
Cathay Pacific, helping the new world of international travelers arrive in better shape.
I wonder if I could interest you in our aluminium double glazed. A lovely door. It's a pity about your windows. Now if I... When it comes to double glazing, you will find that we're amazing, and you know we... Hello? Is your dad double glazing at all? I'm really a teacher. Don't suppose you'd be interested in...
Yes. Come in. Let's talk.
Time for a sharp exit. Time for a cool, sharp harp.
I'm finished for the day. But would you be interested in...
No, but seriously, we have a lot to thank our parents for, and I don't think I've ever said it properly. Without them, I'd never have got the business started. When the bank didn't want to know, it was Dad who came up with the cash. How he found the money, I'll never know. So, here's to Peggy and Jack.
At Commercial Union, we have a long-term savings plan that lets you take cash out early and still leaves you a lump sum to look forward to.
Thanks, Dad.
Commercial Union. We won't make a drama out of a crisis.
Excuse me, do you remember your first dime?
Aye?
Your first dime? Ah, not my trolley!
A baked potato can look boring, but add fresh cream, you'll have 'em roaring. Can't wait for afters. Oi! Scream for cream!
See, Jan, there goes more of our delicious Dutch bacon off to England.
Hope there's enough left for us. Look, the British get our bacon, but what do they give us?
Groovy things, Jan. Lots of groovy things.
Royal Crest Dutch bacon. Jan thinks you're getting a good deal.
A kaleidoscope of kung fu action on Friday night kicks off with The Karate Kid 2 at 6, followed by The Last Dragon at 8 and American Ninja 2 at 10. Friday night on the Movie Channel.
The video release of this film was certified by the British Board of Film Classification as 18.